My name is Uzoma Asagwara. I'm the Deputy Premier of Manitoba and the Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Big portfolio. What is some of the top pressing issues that you're dealing with in your province right now?
Our number one priority in Manitoba, and it's the number one priority for Manitobans, is healthcare. That's the top priority. Folks want to access primary care. They want to get their healthcare needs met in a timely way. And the way that we do that as a government is by staffing the healthcare system, which was cut. Major sites were closed. Jobs were cut for many years under the previous government. So our priority is staffing the front lines, training more healthcare workers, and making sure that Manitobans have access to the care they need, no matter where they live in our province.
A beautiful girl was born in Winnipeg to Igbo parents who left Abia State for a better life in Canada. She grows up to be a national basketball player. Then she walks away from sports and walks into a building that in over 150 years had never once had someone like her inside it. By the time she is done, she will have broken not one record, but 3 in a single night. And a few years later, she will be standing 1 seat away from running an entire Canadian province. This is the story of Uzoma Chioma Asagwara, daughter of Abia State and one of the most important Igbo political figures Canada has ever seen. Welcome back to Enu Cultural Forum, where we promote the rich cultural heritage of the Igbo people. Let's get into it. Uzoma Chioma Asagwara was born in Winnipeg, Canada, to Igbo Nigerian parents who had migrated from Umuahia South local government area of Abia State in search of a better life. Like so many Igbo families abroad, the values came with them: hard work, education, resilience, and community. Before politics, Uzoma's first arena was sports. As a student athlete at the University of Winnipeg, she became one of the most dominant basketball players in the country, leading Canada in scoring and earning recognition as the university's female athlete of the year. Her talent took her to the national stage, where she represented Canada in international competition, including the Pan American Games. But basketball would not be her final calling. After sports, Uzoma trained as a registered psychiatric nurse, working directly with people facing mental health and addiction challenges. Seeing the realities of the healthcare system up close gave her a new vision, one that would eventually lead her into the public service. In 2019, Uzoma ran for the Manitoba legislature representing the Union State District, and she won. That single election result rewrote Manitoba's political history in 3 different ways at once. Uzoma became one of the first black members of the Legislative Assembly ever elected in Manitoba's history. She also became the first openly queer black person elected to the legislature and the province's first gender non-confirming MLA. 3 barriers, 1 election night, and Uzoma was just getting started. Her name is Chioma Nkeya Efola. While serving in opposition, Asagwara became the Manitoba's National Democratic Party's health critic, drawing on her nursing experience to challenge government policy and advocate for better health care. Then, in 2023, everything changed. Under Premier Wabkeniu, Uzoma Asagwara was sworn in as Manitoba's Minister of Health and Deputy Premier, becoming the first black person in Manitoba's history to hold either office. Think about what that means. The daughter of immigrants from Igbo land, Abia State, born in Winnipeg, shaped by Igbo values, tested on the basketball court, and hardened by years working in healthcare, was now second in command of an entire Canadian province. It was a moment that carried with it significance not only for Manitoba, but for the black communities, immigrant families, and Nigerians across the world. Even after reaching the highest levels of government, Uzoma never stopped investing in community. Long before entering cabinet, she helped create organizations dedicated to supporting marginalized communities and creating spaces for people whose voices often went unheard. As a legislator, she also championed initiatives that recognized and celebrated the contributions of diverse communities across Manitoba. That commitment reflects a value deeply familiar to many Igbo people: the belief that success means lifting others as you rise. As it is in Igbo philosophy, Onyaya na nwanne ya. From Abia State to the second highest office in Manitoba, Uzoma Chioma Asagwara's story is proof of something we talk about often on this channel. When Igbo people are given room to grow, they do not simply succeed, they make history. And Uzoma is not alone. Across Canada, a new generation of Igbo leaders is breaking barriers, entering government, shaping policy, and redefining what is possible for immigrant communities. Their stories are different, but their message is the same. The journey that began in towns and villages across Igbo land in southern Nigeria is now leaving its mark on some of the most powerful institutions in the world.
I'm Joanne Roberts, and today I'm joined by our Deputy Premier of Manitoba, also our Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care, Uzoma Asagwara. Minister, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been just over a year since your cabinet was sworn in. And I wanted to ask, first of all, you made it very, very clear that a main priority for your government was healthcare and the care of all Manitobans, not just here in the city, but also rural Manitobans as well. Reflecting on the past year, how do you feel like your government has held up to this promise?
You know, I feel like our government has done a really good job of listening to Manitobans from every corner of the province in terms of what they want to see their healthcare look like. And we know that in order to make the changes that Manitobans want to see, we have to understand what they want to see. And so the Premier and I have had the opportunity to undertake a listening tour. We've been all across the province. We've been in Winnipeg, rural Manitoba. We've been in the north, listening to frontline healthcare workers and Manitobans share with us their hopes, their ideas, concerns, and experiences of the healthcare system. And through that listening tour and through the work we've been doing with our partners, I think we've been able to take some really important steps in making healthcare better and fixing the previous damage that was done to the healthcare system over 7.5 years.
Can you talk about what you've learned over this past year, being on the front lines, being all over the province, and hearing from both patients and staff?
Well, what I've learned and what's been reinforced is that healthcare is Manitobans' #1 priority. Doesn't matter where you go in our province, folks are talking about their experiences in emergency rooms or trying to see a specialist or a doctor. And they've been sharing a lot about what healthcare means to them, being able to access essential healthcare no matter where they live. And so what we know as a government and what we've heard resoundingly is that we need more people on the front lines of our healthcare system. We need more nurses, doctors, allied healthcare professionals, and staff. And it's been wonderful to hear directly from those folks about how we do the real work of actually retaining those folks on the front lines and also recruiting and training more healthcare professionals. And so through that listening, through those learnings, and through taking real action, we've been able to take some big steps, like hiring a net new 873 healthcare workers on the front lines of our healthcare system across Manitoba.
Is there something that you learned that you were surprised to learn and that is now guiding you through the next year?
Oh, it's such a great question. I would say we've had the incredible opportunity to meet folks from all aspects of healthcare. We've heard from folks who maybe haven't always had the opportunity to have their voices and expertise heard directly by government. What I've really taken away is that every single perspective matters, that every single person who helps keep our healthcare system going, from the environmental staff workers, housekeeping, frontline folks, there's administrators who understand the inner workings of the front line. We need to listen to those folks and invite them into the conversation about how we fix healthcare together. And I would say one of the biggest pieces in doing this work and learning from folks who have been generous in sharing their knowledge with us has been the way that people want to do the work together. There's a lot of years before our government where people weren't engaged, they weren't listened to, they weren't heard, their expertise wasn't valued. And people are really eager to share what they know with us and be a part of the solutions. And so we know that doing things together is a way we accomplish hard things. And here in Manitoba, we've got the best communities who do that work and the best healthcare workers who do that work. So we're committed to working together, working in collaboration and partnership, and continuing the work of moving our healthcare system in a better direction.
I think that you've also been very honest over the past year that, all of these strides that you are making, there's still a long ways to go. We've also heard from, nurses who are saying morale is still at an all-time low. We've heard from patients who say they're still feeling like they're left behind or falling through the cracks because of the existing healthcare system and how long it takes to make these changes. What would you say to people that feel like they're still not seeing an impact despite all that you have accomplished over the past year?
Like every other Manitoban, I want and I wish to see these changes, big changes tomorrow. But we know these things take time. We didn't get to where we are in healthcare overnight. It took 7.5 years of cuts, of closures, of chaos, for us to see the level of damage done to our healthcare system that has created a lot of the tough challenges we're facing right now. But there's hope, right? There's hope when we can talk about a net new 873 healthcare workers that have joined the front lines. There's hope when we see that we have more access to primary care with the extended hours primary care clinics we've opened. And there's hope when we see that we've hired a record number, 116 doctors to our healthcare system. And so I know that it's frustrating. Folks are carrying frustration that they experienced for years into their experiences today. But we are seeing things get better, and we're going to continue to take steps. Even if they're little steps, we're going to keep taking those steps in the right direction. And I want to reassure Manitobans, their number one priority is going to continue to be our number one priority.
Can you talk a little bit about, it's the new year, fresh start for many people. What is your government planning to do over the next year? What can you share with us today?
Well, in year one, our government was able to do some really big things. Universal free birth control for all Manitobans was a really big step. We were able to do a lot around healthcare recruitment and retention. We were able to do a lot in terms of bringing mobile MRI technology to the North. The first time ever the North has ever had this kind of diagnostic capacity. But looking into the future, looking into the new year, we just want to keep that momentum going. We have a target of hiring a net new 1,000 healthcare workers. We are well on our way to achieving that very, very ambitious target. And so for 2025, we're going to continue to set really ambitious goals. Manitobans deserve to have an ambitious government. They deserve to have a team that's committed to making healthcare better and really doing the work, the heavy lifting and the hard work of changing the culture in healthcare. That's a really big part of how we improve morale of nurses and frontline folks. It's a big part of how we make the healthcare system in Manitoba a place where we can attract people and keep people working happily and with a good balance. And so 2025, for me is going to be a continuation of 2024, where we continue to build on the good things we've done. We continue to do the work of changing the culture in healthcare, continue to build and repair relationships with frontline healthcare workers, and making sure that at the bedside, Manitobans feel the improvements right there.
Speaking about changing the culture in healthcare, your recent announcement of the request for proposals to move from agency nurses back to nurses funded by the province, nurses that are working for us, for the good of Manitobans. Many people call that a very big and bold move. And I know that when you had announced that, you signaled to Manitobans that their healthcare comes first and profit does not come first. With that announcement as well, what did you want to signal to all of the healthcare workers here?
We know that healthcare workers care deeply about making sure that all Manitobans receive the best quality care. I can't thank nurses enough for what they do for Manitobans every day in our healthcare system. I'm a nurse myself. I was a nurse for a number of years before going into politics, and so I know firsthand what it means to provide care at the bedside. And it's a calling. It's something that is a really sacred responsibility and role. And what we want is for more folks to be working in the public system as part of a team, a structure that we know results in the best outcomes for Manitobans who need care. And the RFP, making sure that we put clear controls in place so we can manage the costs around agencies, which are completely out of control, and there were no controls in place for many years. We know that when you have these controls in place, that you can also improve the quality of care, and you can hold agencies accountable to making sure that they're taking an approach that supports a strong public health care system. And so it is a bold step, but again, Manitobans deserve a bold government. They deserve a government that's going to take important steps to make healthcare better. And this is just one part of that. And it's a way for us to also make sure we're moving in the right direction of strengthening healthcare in the public system for nurses and the healthcare workers alike.
We all know everyone struggles. Manitobans are not exempt from that. And I imagine being a provincial leader and also just the person that you are not exempt from criticism from every corner that you are in. I'm wondering if you can reflect on a difficult day you've had as our Deputy Premier this year and talk about how you made it through that day.
That's a really big question. I'm a human. I'm a Manitoban just like everybody else. I love this province. I love our province. I'm so proud to be a Manitoban, and I'm so fortunate to have been given the opportunity to serve Manitobans and our province in this way. It's something I don't take for granted. It's the highest honor of my life. And so for all of the tough days and tough moments, I reflect on what this opportunity really means. And it means that I get to be a part of making Manitoba better for all families. We've got great leadership in our Premier, Wab Kinew. He's somebody who is really guiding our province in a much brighter direction than where it was being led previously. And it's something that I take really seriously. And so, for the tough days that do come up, and they absolutely do come up, for the challenges that maybe I have in my own personal life, we all have families, we have relationships we navigate, and I want the same things for my family that Manitobans want for their families. I want my family to be healthy, I want my family to be healthy and safe, and doing the work of making healthcare better not only supports my family, but it supports all Manitoban families. And so I do this work with the province that I love at the heart of it, with my own family and my own community at the heart of it. And I'm just grateful to be able to continue to serve in this role and be there for Manitobans.
Thank you so much, Minister. I really appreciate your time today. Joanne.
If you enjoy this story, kindly subscribe to Inwane Cultural Forum. Leave a comment telling us where you are watching from, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in our next video. Bye.